Welcome to this presentation on Design Technology 3. My name is Munkai Nyangara. I'm taking Design and Technology 3. So you are all welcome to this presentation. The purpose of this presentation is to share with you tips and guidelines on answering the assignment for this course. The overall aim is to supplement the knowledge and skills you have so that you present a good paper. Therefore, let us all focus our mind on the subject area and the assignment. First, we are going to look at a brief overview of design and technology. As experts and students in this subject area, we should be aware of the overview, the content area of the subject. We now know the skills and the concepts which are covered by design and technology. We are also aware of the language and the terminology of the subject area. For example, in ordinary language we talk of dirty, while in design and technology we talk of pollution. We also talk of qualities of metal. In ordinary language we say metal bend, but in design and technology we talk of malleability. So we should be aware of the jargon of the subject so that we can answer our questions effectively. Right. We are now going to look at the key questioning terms. We have made these in other subject areas. We also have these terms in our start guide. Some of the terms are discuss, describe, draw, explain, compare, calculate. We can also have questions beginning with what is or why. We can also have questions beginning with justify. As seasoned students, we need to be aware of these terms and how best we can answer questions. We are going to look at some of the examples on how we can answer questions from these terms. The following key question words need further discussion. Discuss, compare and contrast. You should be aware that in design and technology, the word discuss or discussion may not be the same as in other subjects. So we need to read the question and understand it. An example is, in most cases, discuss may mean looking at advantages and disadvantages, or strengths and weaknesses, or pros and cons. But in design and technology, it is not always implying that you need to look at disadvantages and advantages. In design and technology, discuss may mean critically appraising or analyzing a phenomenon. An example is question 1 of your assignments. requires you to discuss how you can contribute to the conservation of natural resources. This question does not mean that you need to look at advantages and disadvantages of contributing to conservation, but it requires you to explain in detail and justify how you can contribute to conservation of natural resources, or you need to come up with strategies, ways of conserving natural resources. So we need to understand the meaning of the word discuss, whether it implies looking at advantages and disadvantages, or whether it means critically appraising something. We have further examples on using some of the questioning terms. The first example says, discuss the use of wood for construction. Yes. In this question, you need to look at the advantages and the disadvantages of using wood for construction, or we can also call them strengths and limitations of using wood for construction. The next example is, discuss how you would contribute to control of land pollution. Yes, you need to critically describe, explain with reasons and justifications how you would contribute to the control of land pollution. In this question, you don't have to discuss the advantages and disadvantages. So the two questions, the implication of discuss is not the same. So we need to read and understand what discuss means in a question. Then we have another example, compare and contrast solar and hydro energy. In such a question, you need to look at similarities and differences, or advantages and limitations of the two forms of energy. Then we have another question, distinguish between plastic and metal. Again, in this question, you need to show the differences between the two, plastic and metal. We should be aware that design and technology, being more of a scientific, technical subject, the subject requires you to do a number of skills. For example, it requires you to draw, to calculate, to provide factual specific definitions, listing steps in a process, and sometimes sketching diagrams. So we need to have all these skills. Right now, let's focus on our assignment. Our assignment for 2018 has got 14 questions, all of them adding up to 100 marks. The mark allocation for each question guides you on the breadth and the depth of your response. For example, a question with 1 mark is not the same as a question with 3 marks. The breadth and the depth of the answer are not the same. I have an example of 1, define dovetail joints, 1 mark. Then discuss dovetail joint, 3 marks. Yes, the concept is the same, but the mark allocation is different, and also the question requirement is different. So in the define question, you simply need to give a simple definition of the term dovetail joint. While in the discussion question, which has got 3 marks, you need to define, you need to explain where the dovetail joint are used, and you can also give different types of dovetail joints. Right. The 2 questions are asking the same concept but require different detail. So we need to be aware of that. Then let us also take note of questions with 2 requirements. For example, question number 10 in your assignment, it requires characteristics and uses of a hacksaw. First, you need to explain the characteristics of a hacksaw. For example, one of the characteristics of a hacksaw is that the blade is flexible. Then, secondly, you need to explain the uses of a hacksaw, for example, for cutting. So in such questions, you should answer both parts of the question. If you answer only the first part, you will not get all the marks. Therefore, we need to read and understand the question. An advice is, when you are reading a question, you can underline the keywords so that you make sure that you have answered the question in full. Right. We come to the summary of our presentation. You need to read and provide full answer as guided by the mark allocation. Our answers should have adequate detail. When answering, you should stop and reflect and review whether you are answering what has been asked. Ensure that you have answered all the questions, because every mark is important. Where drawings are needed, you need to be smart, you need to be accurate, and if the question requires you to label the drawing, you should do so. When do your work, be thorough, be proud of your assignment, and be satisfied that you have done your best. Then now look at academic writing reminders. These are the issues we do and practice in every assignment or academic writing in other areas. We should avoid plagiarism. We are aware of plagiarism. We should explain facts, points in our own words. We should avoid copying from the module, from the guide, or from the textbook. Where we quote, we need to indicate the source. At the end of the assignment, we need to present a bibliography showing sources we have consulted. We need to abide by the college requirements on referencing style and listing the bibliography. We have come to the end of this brief presentation. The major purpose was to share with you some tips on how you can go about in your assignment for design and technology for 2018. You are free to contact me on the indicated number, or you can email me on the indicated email address. I prefer emailing because you'll get a written response. Thank you. Good luck.